welcome to the Excellent Podcast. I am your cinematic host, STEFON WHITAKER, the head honcho of SW Films. And we got our first guest of the season, yo. We got the first guest of the season, season 2. We got the guy. He's an Emmy Award-winning director from my home state of Indiana and from the city of Indianapolis. We got Mr. Jake Huber here on the pod today.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you for being here, man. How are you doing in this morning on Monday morning out here, November?
Good. It's nice and cold and rainy out here.
Oh, yeah? Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I know you don't miss that.
Yeah, I don't miss it, even though it's been kind of cold in LA this last week at least. But shit, honestly, I wouldn't mind being home right now.
Yeah.
At least just get out of the craziness of LA for at least a day. But man, thank you for being here. This is our first time meeting.
Yeah.
I want to say I want to say my first time. First, we just have like kind of communicated a little bit through like Facebook. But I want to say
we started at the same time, you and I, kind of.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I know for me, my career started in 2016, like kind of early 2016. But then I feel like when I kind of heard about you was I want to say 2017, maybe 2018, something like that, because there was the rapper who used to go by Dose, who's now Baby Ebony.
Yeah.
Shout out to the homie, man.
Yeah.
But I remember right around that time he was on a short film that I was doing. And I think I started looking up his his music videos, and I was like, oh shit, he got some really dope ass music videos. And next thing you know, I heard, okay, Jake Huber is the one that is the man behind that. And then I've seen a couple more pieces of work for different artists in indie. Of course, you got Music in Transit. But look, I don't want to be the one to explain. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Speak to your excellence, Jake Huber. Tell us who you are.
All right. Like you said, I'm Jake. I'm from Indianapolis. I'm a director, producer, kind of a Swiss Army knife of a little bit of everything here in town. I guess I started around 2015 in the industry. I mostly work in television, like reality TV, but on the side I'll do music videos. And so I started doing music videos that way. And then after a while, I started getting bigger and better budgets and kind of network within the music community here. And then I kind of became the guy in town for a little bit. But I've slowed down since then. But I definitely have a lot of works here that I'm super proud of, and I always make sure to always incorporate Indiana within that stuff. So,
yeah, man, no, absolutely. I think as I was, in 2017, like I said, right when I found out about you, as I was going through my career, I was kind of, figuring out and seeing what more of, kind of film industry Indiana has, which I wasn't really privy to much at all. Because, at least where I'm from, Angola, Indiana, super small town, no such thing as film over there. Of course,
you had to travel. Yeah.
Had to travel, and then I was born in Fort Wayne, and Fort Wayne has I can't really say Fort Wayne has an industry, it has a market there, but not profitable in my opinion.
Right.
There's not much stuff, there's not anything with a budget really coming there, but it's a lot of indie filmmakers, people making, short films and doing some more commercial stuff. You have some of those companies like Punch and Anchor and stuff like that that's over there. But I want to ask you, how did you get into filmmaking? What was the general question that everybody asks when they're into something like this? Like, how did you get into it?
I got into it by accident. I went to school for photography, and then luckily I knew somebody that I went to high school with that worked on a reality show that just started in Indianapolis. And I asked her, I was like, hey, is there a way I can like come by set? Asking all the stupid questions you'd ask, when like people who have no idea how a film set works ask. And she was like, oh, you can't really swing by set. It's a closed set with security, blah, blah, blah. But like what I can do is I can probably sneak your resume on this dude's desk. So she did that. She printed out my resume and put it on the top of this dude's desk. And somebody got let go and I got the call and I just went in and I was very, very lucky. And I got into this TV show where I started as a PA, production assistant, entry level. And then I spent the last 8 years on it, and it ended a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I worked my way up from PA to camera operator.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a crazy story. I mean,
yeah.
damn. Yeah. 8 years later. And then literally, like you said, that's actually wild as hell. What show was it?
It was called Good Bones on HGTV. It's like a home renovation show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And from then, from like through those 8 years, I met people just who would hop on a season or two, and they'd go on a different show, and then I would go on a different show for a little while, and then I kind of started branching out to
Yeah.
like Food Network shows, on the ESPN stuff like
Yeah.
that. And but my home base is always here, and whenever they like renewed a new season of the show,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. That's really cool. I mean, especially when yeah, I mean, that's kind of wild just to be able to go into something, go into a production like that, that lasts that long. You know what I mean?
right, super
A lot of
rare,
shows, yeah, it's kind of rare now. A lot of shows don't really extend past damn near 2 or 3 seasons, mainly, maybe. So that's wild as hell. That's dope. Um, within that though, I mean, what about that experience about being a PA and about just being on set made you stick to wanting to do that? Especially if initially it was photography. Like, what made you really stick to staying
um
in that?
that's a good question. I think like once you're thrown into the fire as a PA, it's a 50-50 chance depending on who's your higher up and stuff like that. Like if you're going to
Mhm.
stay in the industry or not. You can have like a really shitty boss that will just make you do awful things all day, like stuff you don't want to
Yeah,
do. Or you're going to have people who are like, hey, I know you like production stuff. How about you hang in the office for a day? Or hey, I know you like camera stuff. We can hang out with the camera guys for a day. Or if you want to do, grip and lighting, like hang out with the
mhm.
G&E team for the day. So if you have like a good like mentor kind of situation or somebody who like understands how like you need to be nice and let people like kind of experiment and figure out what department you want to be in, then you're
Yeah,
gonna move on up eventually.
yeah.
And I would say there's a lot of people that, even friends of my own, that got thrown to a job as a PA and they had to work crazy hours, and they're like, "Oh, this is not
Mhm.
worth it at all," and like,
Yeah.
But it all depends on who you work with, which
No, for sure.
yeah,
Absolutely. Certain crews, certain experiences can make or break you. You know what I mean? And even if it's like the coolest job ever, that job can still suck. Like I always say, I worked on the last Matrix movie, Resurrections, and that was not really a fun shoot to work on. I mean, it was cool to see some of the shit that was going on because I mean, still that's the biggest product I've ever been on ever at
yeah,
this point.
yeah,
Like flying helicopters in the middle of San Francisco and fucking seeing Keanu and Trinity and all this shit, all the stunts that they did, fucking 500 to 1,000 extras and shit. It was wild as shit. But like, there was days where we were shooting for like 20 hours a day,
yeah.
like just wild shit. not
Yeah, and
not
then when you come
necessarily.
back like 8 hours later,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's fucking yeah. No, I definitely. There's certain shit that is cool, certain shit that ain't. But other than that, it's still a great experience. What was your upbringing like in Indy? Like in terms of just because my experience with Indy, I've never. Indy is the biggest city, obviously in Indiana. So there's a lot more of those opportunities that come out there. Like I said, being from a small place like Angola, which I don't know if you've ever heard of Angola, Indiana, but
I have,
yeah,
yeah,
okay, yeah,
driven
Angola.
through, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like Angola is just super small, so there was no like my upbringing never really. I was always in love with film, like just watching movies when I was younger, but there was no opportunities to even learn about it like throughout high school or anything like
Right.
that, or any colleges really in there. So, what was your upbringing like to kind of lead you to that?
Aside from like doing the TV show, I'd either like go home or I'd go to like shows, like concert shows or like, hardcore punk shows. And I would network and I'm, maybe like making music videos that way. And after a while, I was like, oh wow, there's production companies in town. There's people like around the same age as me, or maybe like 5 to 10 years older than me that like sit around at a desk bored all day, that have like good camera
Hmm.
packages. They got their own
Yeah,
vans full of lights. I'm like, hey, I got this crazy idea. You want to like do it? I can't pay you, but like this could be
yeah,
good for your reel. And
hmm
burnout is like a serious, super serious thing that happens,
hmm
especially like doing corporate. And
yeah,
so I met, there's I won't name all of them, but there's like four big hubs of production companies in Indy. So I would just find people from all those like general regions, and I'd be like,
yeah,
hey, let's all get together and try this out. And I've made friendships through that. I've had other people make friendships through that. I
hmm
had people quit their job and start a production company with other people because of that. And so
hmm
that's like a big thing I don't talk about a lot that I take pride in is I kind of like got people to not be burnout, enjoy
Yeah.
what they do, and now they can like make a living doing that too.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
because of
No.
me generally, but you know what I mean. Like I
Yeah.
helped like kick them a little bit, you
Yeah.
know,
No, for sure. Which
lit a
I mean,
fire in their ass.
let's be real. I mean, I think it's interesting, man. I mean, I can only really speak from Angola and Fort Wayne perspective. Like I know a few different filmmakers from Indianapolis, but I always feel like at least with I'll say with like Angola, it's there's really no creators. Like I was the only filmmaker that's really there. There might be some people that are kind of interested, maybe a little bit from my journey, or people that were interested but just never, never knew how to take it to a specific level, or, take it serious at all. I think with Fort Wayne, uh, I don't know how to really explain them without being maybe a little, without sounding a little bit maybe disrespectful and not
Yeah.
intentionally. But there's just like, there's not much of an incentive for stuff like that to happen in Fort Wayne. Like I know that the bigger companies like Punch and Anchor, they usually work with companies even in Chicago and stuff like that. So they're not always, doing stuff in their home base. But what was with you're talking about with the different companies in Indianapolis, and I would like to know too, like what is the film scene like in Indianapolis currently, would you say?
Let's say it's a very like owner operated heavy. There's a lot of DPs that have their own like van, their like 2 or 3 camera package,
Hmm.
lighting, everything. But there's a couple of production companies. There's a lot of sports going on. I would say like
Right.
when people
Yeah.
are doing stuff, it's either like you have Eli Lilly, you have like Cummins Diesel, you have Salesforce, you have all these like really high end corporate clients, and they usually
I
only go
forgot
through.
Salesforce was over there. I forgot
Yeah,
Salesforce was in India.
yeah. So they go through like one production company in Indy called Trendy Minds, and
Yeah. Hmm.
they handle pretty much a lot of their work. But sometimes they do like one off shoots and stuff like that. But a lot of
Hmm.
pharma, a lot of like big corporation stuff. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
there's a dude here who has an Alexa 35 package. He has 2 of them, and he doesn't even work in Indy. Like there's a lot of people
Yeah.
like that here that just travel
Yeah.
full time.
Just
Yeah,
try. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, it's crazy because, yeah, I forgot about Salesforce. And of course, all the different,
yeah.
medical, just equipment. Sometimes Indiana is really big for that. So, yeah, there's a lot of, I'm sure Indianapolis kind of sources through so much of those commercials and stuff like that. Is there any kind of unions out there that are like, anybody for the G&E art? Nobody?
Nope, no unions.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
There's a couple sound people here that are union. There's a couple like
Yeah.
makeup artists here that are union, but that's really it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go to Cincinnati and work on union stuff, or Louisville or Chicago,
Yeah.
but those
Right.
are already oversaturated markets.
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, for you, then, what do you think? Do you think Indy has that possibility, and Indiana just in general? Do you think it has the potential to grow into like a film hub at some point? Like kind of how maybe not like how Chicago is. I feel like that's kind of a long hill to climb. But uh, do you think that there's an opportunity where things start coming to Indiana, like
Yeah.
movies and stuff like that?
Yeah. There's a feature film happening in Bloomington right now. It's been going on for about a month. It's directed by Angelo Pizzo, who did Hoosiers. Dustin
Okay.
Hoffman and Kirsten Dunst are in it.
Oh wow.
Has it's over $1 million budget. Um, and there's 2 other films happening here. That company called Pegasus does films here,
Yep. Yep.
but it's very scarce.
You're right.
But if we keep pushing for this tax incentive, which like we have, but nobody is able to like reach the maximum amount of money we need to make it happen,
Yeah.
that'd be great. But it hasn't happened
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, and which is crazy. I mean, it's crazy as hell. I mean, shit, even for Michigan, I remember working in Detroit. Detroit kind of had a little bit of a spike in
It
productions,
did, yeah,
and then they kind of pulled their tax incentives a little bit, which kind of ended up fucking them up a little, like
it did.
in the last few years. But yeah, Indiana needs that. Yeah, I heard about the Bloomington production. I think I actually heard about it from seeing you post about it, or seeing you, ask for anybody to hop on it or something like that. Um,
Yeah, I'm not on it, but I'm trying to think. I know a few people on it, but they've been keeping it pretty much under wraps.
Yeah.
So I don't
Well,
really know
that's
much.
shit. I mean, that's cool. It's man, it's always to me, I think it's great if the more of those opportunities can come to Indiana, because it's just I'm sure you kind of get it too, is like there's a lot of people like there's nobody in my life outside of the people obviously that I work with on set that understand what the fuck we do at all. You know,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
a very it's a job that yeah, people love watching these shows, but they don't understand any of the process that it
Yeah.
goes to make this. Like I try to tell my fiance all the time, like this is what my call time is. Please don't ask me when I'm getting home because I do not know. It's
Yeah.
probably gonna be 10, 12 hours,
Yep.
at least for 14, who knows. But so you have your own production company, Total Fun Productions.
Do.
So
Yep.
you started to, out of the different production companies that's out there, you wanted to throw your hand in the bag to it. Tell me about Total Fun Productions and basically what the idea of creating that was for in your career.
I got to a point where people were asking me, "Oh, can I pay you as an LLC?" Stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
just did that, but I kind of like slowed down on the music video tip 2022, I would say. And then I started like using that energy and I started making these like 3 to 5 minute like vignettes of people in town I really like. They could be
Mhm.
other filmmakers, artists, clothing designers, like painters, stuff like that. I'm trying to
Mhm.
make these like stylized, like really cool, glorified Instagram posts, basically. Same thing as a
Yeah,
music video, but just a mini
right.
doc. So
Hmm.
I kind of made the LLC, just kind of make fun stuff with my friends that way. And then I just
Hmm.
have it as my business.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What was the idea behind the name Total Fun?
Because half the time when I'm doing a set, everybody's drunk, having a good time. You know, it's just
Yeah.
I don't I'm not a dick. I don't yell at people. I'm like I just want like a stress free environment and
Yeah.
like just make cool stuff. And anybody who does anything on any of my projects can take credit for whatever. They can use the footage
Yeah.
however they want. It's not that deep for me. It's just more about like it's healthy to be creative and it makes you feel good. And sometimes like when you
Hmm.
get in that creative rut, it's like you really need to like do something to like get out of it. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, not for sure. I mean, yeah, no, that's definitely important. It's like when you be able to create a good experience like that for people on set, that's important. Especially you as a director, producer. I mean, that's definitely something you always want to strive for outside of just,
sure.
the creative aspect of it, just making sure that people are having a good and safe, time for sure.
Let me ask you a
Um,
question real quick.
yeah.
You worked on like a big music video pre-COVID, right? Didn't you work on something?
Um, I worked, yeah, well, pre-COVID. Well,
It was good.
I worked on a Big Sean music video in Detroit. That was in 2019.
Yeah. Because I remember
Um,
that was like one of the first things I
yeah,
saw you do. Because you're
yeah,
like AD department, right? Or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what's up.
Oh
Yeah.
no, no, well, the one I think you're thinking of with the AD was the Family Ties music video with Baby Keem and Kendrick.
Yeah.
I was the second on that.
Nice.
And that was insane. I mean, that was literally me seeing my dreams come true, meeting Kendrick. I always said I was gonna fucking meet him or work with him in
That's
some
awesome.
shape or
Yeah.
form, and that was crazy, man. It's fun. I do have some questions about the music, just music videos in general, because I really liked a lot of your music videos, and I kind of started shooting music videos, and once my career kind of started, I was mainly directing and shooting music videos because that was obviously kind of like the easiest client to find. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep.
They didn't have any fucking money half the time. Uh, my question really is like kind of your thoughts on the landscape of music videos in this day and age. I want to kind of break it down because one thing I always love and I laugh at when I see your Facebook is the different posts you'll make about some of the shit that you probably have dealt with in
Yeah.
terms of these artists and some of the questions they ask. And I'm like, dude, I understand. That's the funniest shit ever. Uh, it's crazy because, like you said, you haven't done any in 2022. That's actually about the same exact time that I've kind of I have not shot and directed a music video since I want to say 20, maybe 2023 actually, but it was only one music video I shot that year.
I will
Um,
say I came out of retirement November a year ago to do one. So I
yeah.
did I did one then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I mean, what has your experience been like shooting and directing music videos? Like obviously, like you said, that was kind of like a pretty big part of, starting out for you, but like what are your thoughts on it now? How's your experience been? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
Yeah. So I mean I would do it for like, people I really like and people I like went to actively go see in concert
Yeah.
locally. And then after a few of those, I was like feeling good. And then like random people, some strangers that hit me up, like, yo, I saw this video, like, what's your price? And I'm like, oh shit, maybe I can make some money. And I've had like
Yeah.
nothing but like terrible experiences with these people. You know what I mean? And
Shit.
some
Yeah.
people are just, I don't know. This could be like a 7-part podcast if we like had to go into this, but it got to the point where I was like, this is not worth it,
Yeah.
either if it was like my mental health or my actual safety, like,
Yeah.
like it was just like I was like, yeah, you know what? I can just like be at home tonight. I can just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It got to the point where I was just like feeling a little burnout. I know that's
Yeah.
like saying burnout a lot, but I really was. And so after 2022, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to stick to like the music series I do. And
Yeah.
that's really it. But
Yeah.
then,
Nah. Yeah.
but then you're talking about like what's it like now, and it's like, I mean, you got kids being like, 3 music videos for $500 kind of shit, and then it's like people
Yeah.
stealing other people's ideas, hanging mic
Oh
videos.
yeah. Yeah.
And also just like anyone can pick up like an FX3 or an R5 right now and just put it in auto mode and throw it on it
Mhm.
like a shitty gimbal. And like
And
you
just
have like
yeah.
you have like better camera stuff than like what we had like in
Hmm.
2016, 2017.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
And
it's a
then
lot
it's
easier.
always
It's a lot,
repeated.
yeah. And now there's like pre-made LUT packs. There's like all, effect
Everything.
transit, like all this shit. And it's just like everybody's
Hmm.
video kind of looks the same, but nobody really notices. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, man. So that's why like I did like set builds and stuff. Cause like after seeing other people's stuff, I was like, everybody's shit looks the same. So I want
Yeah.
to make sure nobody like copied me. And yeah, that's kind of like why I went down that route when I did that stuff like heavily.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, there's certain trends right now, especially, and I'll say a lot of these trends obviously stick within kind of the hip hop music video space. The hanging mic shit is something that I just refuse to shoot. That shit just seems so like yeah, it might be like a little easy thing to shoot, but that's kind of a waste of time. You know what
Have
I
you seen
mean?
my? Did you see my last video? It's making fun of the hanging mic video, but
No,
the
I didn't
artist
see
like
it.
walks up to a hanging mic and the camera pans up and the XLR goes to infinite into the clouds. Yeah,
Yeah, like that's
yeah. I'll
shit
send
like
you a link.
that.
Yeah,
That's funny, and I definitely send that over. That's funny. I mean, it's the trend of some of that stuff is crazy. You know what I mean? And a lot of you're seeing a lot of because every single year there's gonna be a newer, younger artist that sees something like that
yeah.
and wants to shoot that. Like it's just interesting, man. I mean, yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like my experience with music videos really throughout kind of my career is I was really only working with like maybe a few of the same artists throughout the last maybe I'm gonna say last 6 years. But then when I moved to California, my kind of connections with them kind of dried out a little bit. One of the artists who is a family member, one of the artists I was shooting with, he kind of started to get into film. And then the other one, really all of them just kind of stopped putting in effort to make music, and then
Right.
kind of I guess maybe realized that maybe this is not the career to trying to
Yeah.
be aiming towards, which, it was weird. Like I'm sure there's probably moments where you were creating with people that you really fucked with that obviously it felt special. You guys were really creating a lot of really great art. Um, and it's like, I'm sure, I don't know if it's happened to you too, where it's like, you feel like as you're rising, that artist is rising too because of the simultaneous work that you guys are, kind of giving each other.
Mm.
But then, they kind of fall down a little bit. That could be for anything. That could be as a filmmaker too, like people that you're
Yeah.
rising up with and they kind of just slow down. That's what it felt like for me is like everybody I was working with in that moment, they all kind of just fell off. It just wasn't a real passion for them. And that kind of made me stop shooting videos, really stop shooting music videos. It's just there wasn't a lot of people in that space that I wanted to work with.
Mm.
And even last year, the last music video I shot with was with one of those people who was I was shooting with before. But I kind of told him like, look, this might be our last video because I don't, your ass ain't trying to make no more music. You don't really have, you're trying to live that at home life. So I'm like, cool. But it's funny, man, just in terms of talking about like the safety on set. To be honest, I've never really had much of that issue where a lot of the rappers be bringing like props
Yeah.
on set.
Yeah.
Not much. I've never had. maybe when I was in film school shooting music videos is the only time I've really worried about that for real. But like a lot of the times on set, kind of like what they would do on like, bigger sets is like if there is some sort of prop weapon on set, like the AD does, you stop everybody, you announce it, say, hey, it's rubber, or hey,
Right.
there's this mechanical piece. Anybody want to check it out? Okay, cool. Let's get back to work type shit.
Yeah.
But have
Some
you
real shit.
really, yeah, have you had like a real wild experience with a music video that was like an experience that you're like, I would never do that again, but you would never forget that shit ever?
Yes, but I don't want to talk about it on here.
Oh shit.
I can talk to you about it in private though.
Oh man.
Uh,
So I know it's
yeah,
crazy as fuck.
yeah,
I
it's
know, I know it's got to be wild as shit.
yeah,
Um,
but yeah.
Shit, that's funny. What is indie's music scene like? Because I don't like as far as just overall. It doesn't have to just be hip hop. Like I know that there was that whole thing kind of earlier in the I think it was this year where they were Fort Wayne and Indy wanted to go back and forth about the ciphers.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you heard about
No, no one cares about Fort Wayne, dude. No, I'm just kidding.
it.
It's cool. Fort Wayne has a cool little scene too. Very tiny, but
Absolutely,
cool.
yeah,
But there's actually like a really popular band in Fort Wayne called Los Optos, and they're
yeah,
like from Mexico, and they played like Lollapalooza last year. They played my
yeah,
music series this year, but they're gonna blow up any day now. There's a lot of people in
yeah,
Fort Wayne that actually got super famous, but
yeah,
the scene in Indy is pretty cool. Very very heavy hip hop scene. There's a hip hop festival every year called Treese that I do the video for.
yeah, yep, yep. I
Yeah, they
remember
always
seeing
bring
that.
in like headliners each year too, and it's always just a fun day of the week.
When did that start happening for Indy? Because yeah, Trees is kind of new, right? Or no?
And it took like 2 years off during COVID when one of the founders passed away, and then
Mm,
COVID happened. But they just did the sixth installment of Trees, so
yeah,
really it's been like 6 years.
yeah,
But,
no,
yeah,
yeah, Trees is dope.
yeah, it's awesome.
That's cool.
It's,
So I
it's
mean, the music scene in general, though, just in terms of like I'm sure there's plenty, like you said, there's plenty of people that reach out to you, and that just reach out to you and kind of figure like, hey, this is the guy right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's cool. And like I don't mind when people reach out to me because like half the time they reach out to me, they want something that like I don't want to do personally. And I'm like,
yeah,
hey, I don't want to do this, but here's exactly what you need. And like I'm like a free like consultation kind of situation.
yeah,
And
no,
you
yeah,
a lot of people they can do it themselves, or they can find like a young kid in film school who like
yeah.
knows how to do like they don't need me for it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Because yeah, certain things you don't want to really waste your time on, and you might be having other projects that you feel a little bit
yeah.
more passionately about doing. No, absolutely. With music in transit, which I want to say music in transit, I've watched a couple of those, and music in transit has definitely been one of the cooler things to see from an artist in Indiana, because that's something that
Thank
you would
you.
really like. You would never really see that in a space like. I feel like it's perfect for Indianapolis to really put on those local artists and give them just a very different kind of environment to thrive in, and it's just
Yeah.
cool to kind of see how that goes. How did that all come together? Because I think now, like, of course, you shoot it in this like transit bus,
Right.
which is like the cool, that's a dope thing. Also, you get to really kind of play with it's just a fun experience I imagine to be on when you're actually in the production of it. Like how did all of that come together and what was mainly I guess the purpose of music in transit for you?
So Indianapolis is slowly switching over to using cleaner energy stuff. So they are using a clean energy bus line. And in 2018, they started construction on it. And pretty much like the whole city was just like up in flames, pissed off about all this construction. They're like, we
Hmm.
hate the Red Line bus, we hate Indigo, and
Yeah,
Indigo's like the coolest company and the nicest people in the world.
yeah,
And they kind of reached out to someone that they had an employee, and their employee reached out to a friend of mine who owns a record store, Square Cat Vinyl, and she was like, "Hey, we need some positivity, some like positive press, because people hate all the construction happening."
yeah.
What can we do? And so he hit me up because he knows I shot video at his record store before and stuff like that. And he's like,
Hmm.
what can we do? And like, there's no such thing as an original idea, but there's like sessions online called like Jam in the Van, there's tiny desks and stuff like that. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Mhm.
oh, what if we can just like put bands on the bus? We park the bus somewhere and we do like an actual like stylized multicam, thing where we like give artists the challenge of, trying to find like where they go in the bus and
Mhm.
making that act like, a lot of people have like a kind of difficult time at first, but some people like love it. But
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did that. We got a really big band as our headliner, Duran Jones and the Indications from Bloomington, originally from Bloomington. And it was a huge hit. We won the Indianapolis Monumental Prize Award, and then we won an Emmy that year for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we then COVID hit, but we still did it during COVID.
Yeah.
Um, don't tell anybody. And but we did it safe. We did it safely. But and then from then on, it was a thing where I had to self fund it for like 2 years, and then 2 years ago I got to partner with Gang Gang, who's a non for profit in Indianapolis that
Mhm.
they host a really cool art show called Butter.
Yeah.
Um, they pretty much just put a voice to Indianapolis artists, musicians, poets, whatever that
Mhm.
struggle with not getting their stuff out. So
Yeah.
we just finished our sixth season, and
Wow.
we're still rolling out episodes. And it's won 3 Emmys. It's
Crazy.
it's kind of like my main focus outside of like working in commercial and TV right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, creating something like that to where one, you can really put the entire city and eventually this the entire state onto that is definitely huge. To win 3 Emmys off of the show, that's super dope. Yeah, I've watched a couple of them, man, and they've been. It's just a very cool, because doing stuff like that, like in the bigger side of in a lot of the bigger stuff I've worked on, I haven't. It's funny, ever really. There's not as much big, huge like music video or music show production kind of stuff I've really worked on. Something, anything that's kind of, and it's definitely not similar to music in transit. But the only thing I've worked on where it was kind of like this live, someone environment, someone playing was what the fuck was it? It's something for Facebook. Facebook Live was doing like a concert for Carol G.
okay,
And we shot that in like San Francisco, like kind of near like the Pier 39 on this parking garage. And it definitely was just a lot. It was like no live audience. It's just we're filming her actually live performing. We got a fucking drone team in the air the whole time. We
that's
got,
cool.
two or three different camera crew, A, B, and C camera doing some shoots. That was like the only thing I've really done in that space. But in this one, for you guys, music in transit, like you guys are actually in this bus, draw like what is like if you can tell me like what is like the setup in terms of like the production for that? Like is there any kind of difficulties it is like kind of rigging or doing certain stuff on the
Hell
bus while
yeah.
it's moving? Yeah. What is that like?
So the bus can't move, so it's parked.
Oh,
But
okay.
so if it we would all die if it was moving. But
Yeah.
basically, when a band shows up, I mean, each episode is a different genre. So it could be
Yeah.
just like a rapper and a DJ. It could be a full band. We had a 11-piece band a month ago. Like
Wow.
we let them go in there and figure out where they want to go. And then we have an audio team, both live sound and post production sound. So
Mm.
we bring actual studio mics in and we record all the stems. And then we also do like live sound, so like people can watch outside.
Yeah.
And then I cover my ass and I sprinkle GoPros everywhere in the
Yeah.
bus. And then we
Hmm.
have upwards of 4 to 5 camera operators on either DSLRs or shoulder rigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's dope. I mean, would you say like when did you feel like you got it right with that? Like in terms of
Um,
just like getting everything set up how you actually imagined it. Like,
it's
do you
it's
feel like it took a minute?
it definitely did. It's a challenge because we don't know where we're going to go for each episode, But
Yeah.
I think kind of backtracking in our convo, like uh, I stopped like kind of doing music videos because like artists would like be like, hey, um, when they do a music in transit, like if you did a music in transit, I give you a
Hmm.
copy of the footage and the audio, like mixed and mastered, so you can use that however you
Okay.
want.
Yeah.
But I had like artists be like, "Hey, I actually got to like use this video, this episode to like help me book my tour because like I didn't have
Mhm.
any like good live footage with good audio, stuff like that."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh, I never really had anybody like hit me up, be like, hey, people love this music video so much that I got booked."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
I was like, "Oh, this is actually like gaining some positivity for people. It's making me feel."
Yeah.
So that's why I shifted gears towards more of the live stuff.
Right. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's dope. I mean, yeah, when it can really prove that, and I imagine too, like just you talked about, some of the different, bus transport systems in Indianapolis. Like this is a good, the music and transit is a good opportunity to also get those different sponsors involved. You know
Right.
what I mean? And all of that really, that of course attracts different artists and attracts different, just different, things to help, kind of fund, stuff down the line. Um, with in your sixth season, first of all, you won an Emmy. I want to. We can't skip over that. What was that like? Like you won an Emmy for something that you like helped really put your heart and your soul into, and put a lot of creative energy into it. Like that's, I mean that's everything that a lot of filmmakers secretly aspire, right? Like what was that like for you? How did that?
It was really cool. It was a really good feeling. It was during COVID, so it was like live streamed from like
Yeah,
some dude's like living room. You like see his like living room in the background, and he like
yeah,
just read my name off a piece of paper, and I'm like, oh shit, you know.
yeah,
So, but I was with my family, and it was nice. It was a good time. And
yeah,
now it's like a whole ass ceremony you can go to and stuff like that.
yeah.
But yeah,
That's crazy. I mean, I
yeah,
know that had to be a special moment being around family,
definitely made me
and
feel good.
yeah, and they're like, "Yo, look at little Jake. Finally, you got
There you
the
go.
Emmy." Did you have it? And I'm sure, I always ask creatives this because I know I got it when I said I was wanting to, be a filmmaker officially, go to film school, stuff like that. Like, did you get a lot of people that kind of hated on that at first? Like, didn't think it
Dude,
was
there's haters.
possible?
There's haters everywhere out here, man. Yeah. There's haters, but I just ignore that. You know,
Yeah.
it's no point in giving people energy like that. I'm
Well,
just like,
definitely not now. But I'm saying like when you first started, like did any of that affect you? Because I know for sure, like for me, like when I was announcing I was going to film school, I had a lot of my friends actually. They all fucking hated it for some reason. And I
wonder
just
why.
never really understood. I don't know. Maybe because they thought I was trying to be famous or some shit, or like this, that, and the third. I have no clue. Which is funny looking back on it now because I mean, there's not really much anybody can say to me about that shit now. But
I think
um,
I kind of went to film school with IU and stuff, but
mhm,
season one of that reality show, I learned like everything I needed to learn, and I kind of wish I didn't go to college because of that. You know, but
yeah.
everybody's different.
Yeah. With that, right? Like, first of all, how was Music in Transit able to win an Emmy? I'm not really, I'm not familiar much with the Emmys at all. Really, I've never really watched the Emmys. I guess the only kind of shit I've watched is like maybe the Oscars, but I kind of stopped watching that shit now too.
Yeah, so there's like categories of Emmys. So there's like,
Yeah.
there's national Emmys, and there's the
Hmm.
daytime Emmys, and then
Hmm.
there's regional Emmys. And they're all like in the same family, owned by the same
Hmm.
companies like that. But they break regional Emmys down by like different zones, like 5 states at a time. And
Hmm.
so they have the one that I enter is called the Central Great Lakes chapter, and that's like Michigan, Ohio, parts of Illinois, Kentucky, and Indiana. And it's a lot of categories for news and journalism, but then
Hmm.
they also have spots for commercials, web series, stuff like that. And
Hmm.
so I enter for like 5 categories, I think, but I do a lot for technical achievement, arts and entertainment, audio,
Yeah.
um, and then there's like subcategories within that. I'm drawing blanks in my head right now, but I usually submit to like 4 or 5 categories. So music and transit is one for technical achievement, and you basically have to like make a PDF, be like, here's how we do an episode or a video. Then you have to show them a sample. And so last year we won for that, and then the other two we won for it were for audio, which we had to like supply like how we mix and mastered and stuff like that, what mics we used.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow. That's dope. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
especially if you think about all that, how much, where all that covers, just like you said, Michigan, parts of Illinois, Indy, like, to be, kind of, you know, clued out of whoever else, probably was
Yeah.
involved is definitely a huge thing, so that's dope. I mean, just see what music in transit is, kind of come to. Like, obviously you're in the sixth season. Like how long would you say, first of all, how many episodes is in the season for music in transit?
It always changes, but usually it's like 10. But sometimes we have people drop out the day of, which is crazy.
Oh
But
man.
so I'll like bring people in, and if we have like a weird gap of time, I'll like always like try to squeeze in like a rapper and a DJ, something that's like super simple. And be like, hey,
Yeah.
you do like a 4 song set right now, we can get you in, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so as long as people still like it, I'm going to keep doing it. But
Yeah.
I have hopes of expanding it
Yeah.
to different states and
Mm.
seeing if that can take off.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, because you think about shit. I live in Long Beach currently, and I mean, there's all types of buses and all types of, and especially
Yeah.
LA in general. Shit, in LA, you could fucking have a music in transit and all types of. Well, LA don't have the greatest transit out here. Maybe like the Bay, go
Yeah.
on BART or some shit and do
Yeah.
something. That'd be
Yeah.
super dope. That'd actually be. People would actually love that in the Bay. Actually, to do this shit on BART, that actually would probably do really well there because BART is a big thing.
There's one in the Bay on the trolleys. There's like a trolley session thing.
Oh,
The
really?
trolley's actually it's all acoustic though, and like trolley's moving and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool
Yeah.
as hell too.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like that, like, well, one question I have that kind of brought me to it, like, do you ever have to deal with any of the same circumstances or attitudes, maybe like how like music videos was? Do you ever feel like does that ever come into the music in transit at all? Just because I know musicians in general, from my experience,
I've
musicians in
had,
general.
dude, yeah, I had a band that was like, hey, two of our members quit. We don't want this to come out. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, look at all these
Yeah,
people that worked on this and you wasted all their time. And I was like, great, I'm not going to ever work with you again.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I don't know. I take it real personal when it comes to the music and transit stuff because like a lot of cool people work on it and it's just like you're
yeah.
dumb. It's like free promo. But whatever.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, well, with bands, I've worked with a few bands, and I feel like every band that I've worked with, they've like that original group that I shot have broken up in some sort of degree. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like it's always with bands that's kind of difficult. I had something kind of similar to that happen, where I shot this country band. This is in 2019. And I think their drummer who was in the video was eventually not their drummer after like the premiere had came out. And there was a bit of a dispute about them wanting to premiere the video with when the guy's not invited to the premiere, some
Right.
shit like that. It was a little odd. That kind of thing was just like,
That's on you. That's on the band.
yeah, that's on the band. Like hell yeah, we're gonna fucking premiere this. You know what I mean? And we did, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
I think my
Well,
biggest issue is like people being like, "Hey, can I get on the bus? Can I do a session?" And like, I'm usually I just like divert the conversation. I'm like, "Oh, we'll do like an open casting call or talk to these people." But like sometimes like they're just like they suck. They're like, really bad. And
yeah,
it's like, no, you know what I mean?
yeah,
This is my series. I'm gonna make it good and have good
yeah.
music. I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah. Oh
I'm not
man,
trying to be a
that's
dick, but I am.
what. So one thing I wanted to ask, because I know the strikes, right? The film strikes have been fucking.
I should talk to you about that.
I wanted to ask because I wanted to know specifically how has the strikes affected you at all in any way?
And part of the strike definitely canceled the TV show that was on. The TV
Mhm.
show could have kept going on because it was like a basic formula and like they knew how to make it, but
Mhm.
the company that I was working for also makes dozens, if not hundreds, of other TV shows,
Yeah.
and nobody's buying TV shows anymore, and that was happening during the strike also. So
Yeah.
it kind of affected me, but luckily, like a lot of stuff here is like corporate or this like one-off like formulaic reality that's on its like 80th season. Like
Yeah.
House Hunters will come here, like true crime shows are on season 23, stuff
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Or there's a lot of digital stuff, everybody's going to digital.
Yeah.
So, so like right now, I just wrapped a show on Hulu and it's a true crime series.
Mhm.
I did that. And then I worked on Netflix Starting Five with
Oh
LeBron.
yeah, I've
And then
seen that. How was that?
awesome. He's dude. Everybody like hates LeBron, but he was super nice.
LeBron is the shit. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they just greenlit season two, and so they're
Yeah.
coming here a bunch for Tyrese Halliburton.
Nice.
So
Hell yeah.
that'll keep me busy, hopefully. And then
Yeah.
because usually the winter is a weird time, so
Oh yeah, the winter, not a lot of shit's happening usually around that
yeah,
time. You know,
yeah,
especially I mean into January, February, which is that's one of those things. Yeah, because the strikes. The reason I ask is because once again, not knowing too much about what the scene is like in Indianapolis, and especially if there's not a lot of unions there. A lot of these strikes. Obviously, you have the unions kind of rally together. Obviously, the most recent worry of strikes was like the Teamsters and which I don't. Is there any Teamsters at all in Indy?
yeah.
Yeah, there's got. I was about to say there's got to be some Teamsters, but
You talking like
Teamsters.
like stagehand teamsters or like teamsters like driver team like film
Either.
teamsters?
I mean, I imagine there'd be stagehand, but I wonder if there's any transpo like for out there at all in Indianapolis.
All the transpos non-union here. I was working with Taylor Swift the last 3 days,
Shit.
and I was transpo.
Oh
But
wow.
then they hire all unions for stagehands here. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's interesting, because like just because obviously being in LA and the Bay, like I mean, obviously those cities have, all those different kind of unions involved, and the strikes have definitely they've impacted the shit out of LA for sure. Currently I'm working on Ted season 2 with the Talking Bear
that's awesome.
and with Seth MacFarlane. So that's gonna be that's gonna be a funny ass show when it comes
Have
out.
you got to meet Seth MacFarlane?
I've said hello to him a couple times, and like
It's cool
I'll
though.
say this without sounding crazy on in a public spot, but like he's not necessarily a talkative dude. He's not really talkative.
Yeah.
He's zoned in every day at work. He is zoned the fuck in, like literally, like it's kind of brilliant seeing him work because obviously he's there.
That's
He's
cool.
he's giving the lines of Ted. He's giving the different lines to like Scott Grimes, Max Burkle, all the different the cast is there. The other day we were. I don't want to
Is he
spoil
like
it,
on
but
set, like on camera, but they just don't show him?
so there was one day, Reese, last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, where he actually was on camera. What they do is they have he'll give off the lines. He'll have his own little setup with a bunch of different monitors. He'll have a script there that he's reading, and have a microphone that he'll as they call it, the voice of God. They'll put up somewhere on set, and he can give off his lines to the talent. But what they do is they have like an actual the VFX team. They actually have like an actual Ted Bear that they'll use. So they'll go and do what they call a stuffy pass, which is they'll perform some of the basic blocking of Ted moving around the talent. Then they'll go out. They'll do the balls and charts of the same exact movement for VFX. Then they have a crew there because their VFX crew is actually pretty big.
How big is
They
it?
have Man, they have at least maybe like 15 people on their crew because they're filming. They have people who are filming like the actual just the general stage of where we're shooting at. So like they have a black magic camera. They have like some sort of transmitter on to where they can connect to the three different because they're on set on TED they usually have three different camera crews. One somebody on a jib, somebody on sticks, and then somebody maybe on a steady cam or something. But they'll whatever the transmitter kind of connects to that so they can figure out just the general the vision the basically just have create like a basic how do you say it, like a basic stage of where they're shooting at, so that kind of helps them in the VFX space. Then they also have a camera that is right on Seth's monitor and is filming his face, and they do
Yeah.
that because they're basically going to add his facial structures and gestures to Ted's face in the show. And it's crazy. Like they have something called view screen. The dudes like they basically create the shit off like Unreal Engine 5 type shit
Yeah.
of like Ted doing his thing. It's actually it's wild. But yeah, Ted's a really great show. I love that crew. Love the cast. They're all really great people. I'm happy to be working on season 2. But at Universal is where they shoot that at. And Universal, which has fucking a shit ton of lots, there's only like three shows shooting in Universal right now.
Really?
And it's really insane. You also have that I'm sure you maybe probably heard of it. Kendrick actually has a movie that he's doing with like the creators of South Park, and that's been shooting out here in LA too.
Oh,
I haven't got to hop
I
on
had no
that yet,
idea.
but
Yeah.
that's the movie's gonna be fucking insane from what I'm hearing from the people I know that's working on it. But like I think they shot at Disney. They're not shooting at Disney full time, but they did shoot something I want to say at Disney Studios, and I think they were like the only fucking production that was there at
Hmm.
Disney, which is kind of wild. Like the strikes have really fucked up shit over here. To the
Yeah.
point where I'm like, I don't know. I think it'll eventually get back to, maybe not back to normal, but it'll things will get back to at least where there's a little bit more fluidity than it is now. But I feel like you're already starting to see a lot of productions and companies move their bases somewhere else. Like, I think it was either Netflix or some studio is creating.
Mexico, right?
And yeah, New Mexico, one's doing something in Las Vegas, which Vegas is about to be probably a huge hotspot for a lot of people in California because it's close enough to travel and it's cheaper, way cheaper than out here in LA. I know eventually for me, it's funny as I'm filming this podcast right now. From the timeline of how things will be, people will just found out that I've moved to LA and everything. People, of course, remember I was in the Bay, but at some point I do want to leave California and maybe go to the Atlanta area because I heard Atlanta is kind of Atlanta's getting a lot of work right now, um,
Oh,
which is really good. Plus, I want to go somewhere where I can actually own a home, you know.
yeah.
So it's just interesting to see how the strikes have affected different areas, um, But I had to ask that question because I was just wondering how it maybe affected, especially you, because I feel like you're the only person I've really seen from Indianapolis work on like we work on kind of similar shit. I've never worked on any like reality TV or like a lot of. I've been kind of recently getting into those. Bless you. Uh, but yeah, I wanted to figure out how that was affecting you. Um,
Yeah.
what was what is your proudest moment of your career other than the Emmy thing? Of course, that sounds like it might be the almost
Hmm.
answer right off the bat. But what is the proudest moment of your career?
Great question. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Um, I don't know. I really like just like I get starstruck a lot, like when I'm working with like bigger celebrities, and it makes me like feel good. Like All Star Weekend,
Uh,
my girlfriend and I got to work on this show, this Allen Iverson documentary.
oh, dope.
So we got to work with Shaq, Iverson. Um, I guess 2 weeks ago, I was the second AD for a Caitlin Clark commercial, State Farm. So I was with Jake from State
Oh,
Farm
wow.
and Caitlin Clark. It's like
Yeah,
little things like that where I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing something right, you know. So
yeah.
that's definitely like lately within the last like 6 months, I've been really like heavy on the second AD producer kind of stuff around here.
Okay, yeah. I was okay, yeah. Because so I know that like direct, like what would be the main thing like that you like department that you really kind of hone into the most? I mean, of course, you've jumped around as a camera operator, which is very different from being like a second AD, and then very different from being a director and a producer. Like, I guess what do you kind of tap into the most, or what do you feel like you like the most?
I'm tapped in the most with like being a swing, like a second AC or like a second AD. I'm like, those are like usually I'm hired for.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, this is weird out here, you know.
Yeah.
I also say
I
yes
can,
to everything. You know,
right. Now for
if
sure.
I'm free,
Absolutely.
if I'm free, I want to be working.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like with the second AD too, because like doing especially for commercial stuff, like that's actually pretty fun. I've only been a second AD one time for this thing with the NFL. It was like some NFL TV show that had a bunch of NBA players on it for some reason. But it was it was yeah, some TV show for NFL. And like it was funny because doing that as a second AD, like all those athletes had their own, there was like a talent wrangler basically. Like
Right.
I didn't really have to do much of that. I just had to, kind of, let them know where things are going to be going at and make sure they have a spot for holding and then let them know when they need them. And that was it. The talent wrangler was kind of, handling most of that stuff. But I would never be a second AD on like a feature though. Them
Oh
motherfuckers
man,
have they have the hardest job, I think,
you have to be
on
the last person out every day. It's insane.
every day. You got to make the call sheet. I mean, all that shit is just, very rough.
Yeah.
But man, what's next for Jake Huber? What is next for you in the future? What's next for Total Fun Productions? What are some things that you look forward to, and what are some things that you wish to do for the future?
I got two kind of like shorter like profile doc pieces coming out that are gonna be super sick. One is based off this sign painter in Fort Wayne, which actually used Punch Film's Bolt robot to like do this like hyperlapse for
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah.
So that's going to be super ill. And then I'm going to go Finished a second doc about a guy in Indianapolis named Jerry Lee Atwood, who he designs all the country western suits for like Post Malone, Little Nas
Oh wow.
X, and um,
Yeah.
the big like selling log line for this piece is that like um, Old Town Road, Little Nas X just broke like a billion views on YouTube. And so
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
billion people have seen this dude's work and like nobody knows who he is. So
Yeah.
that's what really like intrigued me to like get started on this project.
Yeah.
So just those things. I'm gonna wrap those up and then I'm gonna sleep for like 3 months. And then I'll try doing music in transit after that.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man.
We'll
That's fine. I
see.
mean,
Yeah.
I like that you have like, everything kind of mapped out how you want it to go, leading up into the end of the year and the beginning of the year, because I'm sure as you know in this industry, sometimes it feels like sometimes things kind of just happen almost spontaneously that, like for
Yeah.
instance, like last week I knew I was probably just going to continue day playing on TED, and then I've also been working on SWAT too a little bit, kind of started fumbling, getting in their crew, but now I'm about to work on a feature after I was like, oh, fuck it. I'll just work
Yeah, I
on
was about
this
to
feature
say
for
like
the rest of
everything
the
I just
year.
said could change tomorrow.
Everything can change tomorrow, you know what I mean? And that's just how it is. But that's one thing that I love about the industry. Sometimes I love that not every day feels the same. Not one day really feels the same,
Yeah.
and that's
Agreed. Yeah.
one thing that is just so special about, what the work that we do, and just, definitely feels like you're really living the dream in a way. Working,
Yeah.
not, I mean, not living the work, you're getting close to it. You're you're working up to that dream that you've talked about.
You're like one of like three people I know that like left Indy to pursue the dream. So congrats to you, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you,
Yeah,
man. Like it's funny too, man, because Indiana, like especially my hometown Angola, I've gained a lot much more respect and love for my hometown ever since I left. Really my biggest dream, one of the biggest dreams, honestly, is to just bring a feature film that I direct, that I write, produce in some
that's
sort of
cool.
way
Yeah,
to my hometown, to Angola. That's really what I want to do.
that'd be cool.
And
Yeah.
I actually have two different features that I've written in the last, I'm gonna say in the last 8 years, that either one of them could take place. Specifically, one of them is for sure I want to take place back home. The other one I might want to shoot it somewhere else now. But yeah, that's really my biggest plan. And even whenever I come back to Indiana pretty often. I come back to Indiana at least 2 or 3 times a year because I also still will direct and shoot stuff in Indiana. I did a couple commercials back in July out there, but in Fort Wayne. But really just being able to, because okay, this is actually a good topic. And Indianapolis obviously has much more resources than like Fort Wayne and Angola. But like for me, as growing up in Angola where there is not a whole lot of creatives, there's no resources for creators, there's no outlets for creators out there. I've kind of have played a bit of a role in terms of being an inspiration for people to want to either get into these things or maybe just kind of take that leap of faith and just do something creative and try to make a business out of it and stuff like that too. Like, do you feel like, or do you in general, do you ever take that time or feel like you are able to take that time and to just, kind of giving back in terms of like educating people about how to get into this industry, how to operate, how to work on set, what it's like being in these different departments that you've been a part of? Like, do you feel like that's something that you want to delve into more, or is that something that you're already doing?
I love bringing like, new people on set because like nobody gave me that opportunity. So I always try like back when I was doing music videos, I would bring in like one or two people who've never been on a set, and now
Yeah.
those people like work actively here. And I do that with music in transit also. That's definitely one of my favorite things to do, especially if they like stick with it and end up like being cool at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
When's the
absolutely.
next time you're going home?
Man, I would love to try to come home. Honestly, I feel like it might not be this year. I really wanted to because I was actually kind of like in conversation with the client I was hoping to work with again in Indiana and Alabama. I would have been home fucking by Thanksgiving, but probably not this year. The next time I'll probably be home, probably sometime maybe in the springtime next year.
Gotcha. Well,
For
I need a
sure.
music video done when you get back into
Yeah.
town.
Come
Yeah.
on, bro. Let me know.
I got $250. Let's get it.
Let's get it, man. Come on, man. I got you. Let's
Five
go ahead and work on
locations.
something. 5 locations?
Yep.
Boy, let's do it. Come on now. But yeah, man, like I asked that question because, since our area, our space is not, it doesn't necessarily, it's not known for film. Like that's not something that, the community knows much about. It's not something that, the economy has always necessarily been impacted by, stuff like that, right? Like I think it's important to give back in that realm to just educate people. And I feel like that's one of the big things why I come back home often is I love to, like I said, I love to get new people on set, love to be able to educate them about, certain things about my experiences and help them try to figure out how they can, break into it somehow, which I think I've pointed people towards your name a lot too. I'm like, hey, look, like, Fort Wayne or Angola may not be the spot for you, but I know somebody here that might be who has a lot of shit that he's working on in Indianapolis and around, outside of the state, whatever, that he might be the best person to help you get somewhere, or at least learn something, or to help you get your first experience on a bigger set like that.
Hell
So,
yeah.
I think it's super important to give that back and to educate people. Um, what would be your message to your younger self? What is the message that you would give to the person who was going through IU, going to start this thing in photography, but then, basically when you first got that first job as a PA on a show that just ended, like you said, like a long time ago, or not a long time ago, but recently,
Yeah.
what is the message for that you would give to yourself,
I think what I said
now?
earlier, I'd be like, hey, you don't have to go to film school to do film one. And then
Mhm.
I'd also be like, yo, use all of your money and buy Bitcoin. Everything
Okay.
you
There
ever,
you go.
every single penny you get is good. Take it to Bitcoin.
Take it to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'd be a trillionaire.
And he said, I used
I think
if
about
you
that
just,
like weirdly, like
yeah,
all the time for some reason. I'm just like, oh, I wish I can go back in time.
just, and then you probably
No,
wouldn't be working in the industry, huh?
no, no, I wouldn't even care about film at that point. No, no. But yeah,
That's funny, man. Well, Jake, I appreciate you, man, for being on this podcast, man, on
yeah.
this very first podcast here.
Thanks for having me
Uh,
on.
tell everybody where to find your socials, where they can find your work at, where they can watch music in transit, and just, just kind of just, see the stuff that you've been a part of.
Yeah, it's Music in Transit. It's just on YouTube, Music in Transit. And then my Instagram is my name at underscore Jake Huber. Cool. Of
Awesome, man. I appreciate you for being here.
course.
And once again, dude, like, like I've been seeing you create a lot of great work. I always make sure to, keep at least an eye for the different creatives, especially filmmakers back in Indiana. And of course, you're always the one person who's really taking this shit in a level that I feel like a lot of people should definitely aspire to, being in Indiana, doing shit like that,
Well, you're doing us
winning.
proud out there, man. You're doing us proud out there.
It's a divide and conquer, man. So just know that, with our first time meeting, it's definitely that mutual respect. And I see what you're doing, and yeah, man, it's fucking great.
Thank you, man.
It's excellent. All right, and thank you guys for listening and watching the podcast. And just keep watching for the podcast. We got a new episode every Friday, and then we got a new vlog every Monday. We'll be seeing y'all soon.